How was that? Good break? Feeling refreshed? Feeling relaxed? We're getting ready to go into game number 2. This is going to be Riddle versus Godsent. So far, Godsent are 0-3, while Riddle are 1-2. So both of these teams not had the most stellar start to the NLC.
Jake,
get away.
You've got, dude.
Come on, man. You got to do more than that.
Jake,
I
you've
felt
got to swing it more, man.
That was a good point for you guys to jump in.
All right, yeah. It's not looking hot for Godsent. Yeah, definitely not. But if there was ever a time to pick up a win, it's against Riddle, I think. 1-2, right above them. You know, you normally start to talk about talking points like, you know, getting wins around the people around you, sort of towards the mid to the later stages of group stages are the best times to obviously pick up wins. But when you start off the split 0-3, you know, you need it now. So you've got to come out with something a little bit special. I don't think Godsent have really shown much of what this roster, I feel like on paper, is actually capable of, which is a bit of a shame, especially when you talk about some of the names obviously here. The bot lane, Yusa and Svene, Aztec, even though, you know, he's had some mixed performances, especially when he was on M&M, he's definitely capable of pulling out pretty strong performances too, and the solo laners aren't slackers. So I really want to see Godsent at least come out, even if they lose again today, and show that they can at least push bloody Riddle.
Alrighty, well, we're into the picks and bans. The Fresh, the Ezreal, the Gwen, and the Varus have been banned away. I'm really liking seeing Ezreal starting to get removed because it has just felt too much. It's felt too oppressive in all of the games we've seen it in the last week. So it makes sense that these teams are getting rid of it.
Broken, Divine Sundra is broken, Ezreal, biggest abuser of it. And I mean, just the new build in general is so strong. Good to see the Nidalee ban actually come in. That's in respect to MC, who had a really strong game to get Riddle's first win yesterday. And actually Viego, something we haven't seen really at all. Like, there's been a couple of bans here and there, but actually being first picked by Godsent. There's still things like the Rumble Open, the Lee Sin, Kai'Sa's still a pretty high priority, but they're opting for that Viego straight away.
Yeah, it's interesting because the beginning of the end of last week, we did the what are we laughing at?
Did you interrupt Jamada and Jamada's face?
Yeah, well,
I mean,
go on then, Jamada. You know what? I won't make my point. You make your point.
I'm here to make my point. Me analyst, me speak, you host.
Be smart.
You toss to us. Me smart. No. Yeah, look, I'm so hyped to finally see Viego again. I think the last time we saw it, it might have been in the hands of Hatrix on BTXL in week 1. And this champion is just so damn strong and so like oppressive in skirmishes if you allow this guy to just kind of go unchecked and hit people. And I think champions like Rumble, for example, being on the enemy team are just such strong champions for him to siphon and then take over, because you just kind of have these strong set of base abilities to then work off to get your reset with your ult. So I'm happy to finally see Viego go through the ban phase and actually be picked so early on. And I hope that Godsent also draft on theme with a lot of skirmishing, which is what we're seeing right now with the Lee Sin and Tristana.
And that's a lot of flexes coming out from Godsent so far. It's really hard to really tell where anything is going to end up. Whereas if you look over the side of Riddle, obviously Set has flexibility, but the Senna and the Rumble pretty much have an expectation where they could go. Obviously the Rumble can be flexed, but we've just been seeing it jungle so much. The Senna is an interesting one because she actually had the range per soul reduced, and then she had her lethality scaling buffed. But for the most part, we haven't been seeing a lethality build. It's just Divine Sundra syncs so well with her. Divine Sundra Black Cleaver being a really popular build for the champion. Likely to see it fasting in the bot lane. And it's something that I've seen Gooby play sort of Scion Senna quite a bit. And he would actually play the Scion rather than the Senna because as he puts it himself, he's just a better Scion player. So could potentially even see PlayStation picking this one up.
Next up, it's going to be the Rail getting banned away. We saw a lot of Rail last season. It's kind of fallen a little bit more out of favor. Things like Leona, it's kind of showing a lot more, up a lot more. Tahm Kench being denied here. Obviously, the Tahm Kench center lane is just really hard to deal with, so don't want to be dealing with that. And there goes the Lulu ban as well. So we've seen a couple of Lulu bans already today.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I guess it's been Flay in this one, but like, I mean, rather Svene on the other side when you've got the Tristana as well there. So I'm not sure. I don't think she's the strongest champion in the world, but if you're running something like Senna, Set potentially in the bottom lane, she can kind of get away with a free laning phase potentially. So you cannot, in a way, understand the ban away. And on the opposite side, Tahm Kench, just in case the Set flexes away, and Wukong also. So these are actually pretty strong bans, I feel, from Godsent on the flip side.
Yeah, I feel like as much as like I like the Set pick because they can put a bot lane if they need to, if everything's banned away, but I actually don't like it as much in the bot lane just because I feel like the current iteration of set is better with a bit more AD to back you up.
Yeah.
There's still things like the Cho'Gath potentially available as an option in the bot lane. I could even go Karma. We've actually seen Karma Senate before, so that's a potential one, but it remains open as a flex. And I think considering the amount of flexibility that Godsent already have in the composition, given some options for Riddle is a pretty smart move at this point. We should see where things start to solidify here for the side of Godsent. I would expect it's probably going to be Lee Sin, top of mid, Viego jungle, and maybe just that Tristana in the bot lane, but we'll get to find out now.
I do worry that the damage profile could be lacking a little bit. They're going to put the Leona in as their support here. This is very AD focused. Now, I look over at Riddle, they haven't really got like a true tank. Obviously, the set is kind of pseudo-tanky thanks to his sustain and his shield from his Haymaker. But, you know, adding something like a TF also enables for these skirmishing plays. You can rotate post 6 with the Destiny into a fight, basically a snap of a finger. And, you know, start to join in these plays. And it also does help mix up that damage profile. But it looks like they're actually going to go for the Zoe here. So we did see, I believe it was actually Fiore play it last week, if I remember right.
Yeah. I can see you making up your face a bit, Dan. I feel like it can be okay and it can fit. I feel like Zoe is kind of an underrated skirmisher. She's not like the most traditional like mid lane. As soon as you hit like level 3, 4, I'm immediately fine. But just the threat of getting slept, I feel like can be very potent, especially if it ends up being Viego jungle, which I expect it to be with leader too. Go.
I think the problem for me is that with this Godsent composition, they have a lot of strong skirmishing, a lot of early pressure. If they can get the ball rolling, it's good. But we saw them with, you know, a similar sort of composition where I wanted that early pressure yesterday against Kova, and they didn't find it. And then it got to team fights and they just lost. And I feel like, you know, looking at the composition of Riddle, they have this incredibly beefy front line. They've got a Karma as well, great team fighting control. And I think that Godsent, like, if they miss the mark in the early, in the sort of early priority and pressure, and then they're going to have a hard time bringing it back later in the game. So I'm hoping for their sake that they're coming in with these picks, they're confident on them, they're able to get the ball rolling. But if they don't, I think Riddle just take this one. Yeah,
absolutely. This is a pretty... I mean, it's a pretty, again, a kind of traditional front-to-back team fight. You've got the big front line of the big tanky boys at the front, and then Senna will just kind of be able to shield up. And actually, it's slow queue on the Sion, so they're not putting the Karma mid. They're actually putting the Sion mid, unless
it could be a human swap. It could be like where, you know, they have the champions that we don't know, but I don't know why they'd necessarily do it in that way, so I assume we're getting what we're seeing.
I mean, I guess Sion eats up the Zoe poke, so I guess that's probably why they're doing it. I don't know. We'll find out. But I think for now, it's time for us to throw over to our casters, Scoundrel and Foxdrop. Take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, and this is an interesting one. As you said, we've got the Sion, we've got the set as well. Big beefy front line, which traditionally is quite good at dealing with these more poke orientated style compositions. But with it is only really the Zoe that comes in as like the major poke source here for Godsent. So I still think I favor Riddle. I think they've got a lot of scaling here. They've got Rumble in conjunction with a lot of CC and a lot of front line, which I think is going to be very difficult to deal with in these team fights. But I'd love to know what you think of these two team comps.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't think I could say it better myself. You are completely muted on Discord, by the way, so I didn't hear a word you said. But I'm thinking
thank you. Yeah, literally just explained everything. Foxy, what do you think of these two team comps? Thanks, mate.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think it was broken down quite nicely on the desk. I think that this like the beefiness of Riddle actually is going to be a real pain for 6'10" in mid on the Zoe. I think whenever you're playing Zoe, you know, you're trying to find those picks, you're trying to find like good targets to just hit with your paddle stars, and beefy targets really not who you want to hit. And Riddle have enough of those. You know, you got the Sion, you've got the set as well. So Zoe might have a bit of a trickier time of things, but I would imagine that she'd be fairly decent in that mid with that getting some prio down as well. So that will make Aesthetics' life a little bit easier. Viego as a champion is like can really take over a game. This isn't a solo queue, so not to quite the same extent as you might be able to see in your own ranked games, but still, if he flies through that jungle and he can build really, really offensively and just absolutely take it to the members of Riddle. And, you know, this is a guy you're going to definitely want to keep your eyes on.
I'm very glad that you said that because chat can confirm that's exactly what I said.
Cool.
But I'm good to get the backup of someone who actually knows what they're talking about, rather than me just spouting rubbish for for a good 30 seconds while muted on Discord. But regardless, the one thing that I think Riddle may struggle with, is that they could maybe lack a little damage as the game progresses. But obviously, Gooby's going to scale infinitely per se, so he's going to have a lot of scaling on that center. And Set really does do a decent amount of damage in the right scenario, and you have that Rumble to sort of carry you through the mid game. But obviously, when you look at Godsent, that is just pure damage everywhere. Like damage mid lane, damage bot lane, damage jungle, damage top. So, you can often take over a game before tanks become super relevant. And I think that is likely where Godsent are looking to go.
Yeah, I think there's two things as well to keep in mind for the side of... Oh, we're going to get engaged. Gooby has to flash. I thought it was just dead. He's not. He's going to stay alive on this one. Good damage trade back for Riddle there, actually. But no flash on Gooby. A Spec has started topside. Maybe as he full clears the jungle, he'll come down and give a little bit of attention to the Riddle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, like you said, we've seen a couple of these aggressive level 1s over the game so far, and a Gooby without flash will be a little more vulnerable, especially to Svene on this Leona. Now, obviously, you do have the backup of the shield coming up from the Karma. You do have a lot of re-engage potential, a lot of trading back damage like you saw there. But as you said, like, this is a relatively immobile AD carry. It gets caught out maybe in a gank, or the engage comes through from Svene. Gooby will have to be careful.
Absolutely. Let's go back on the point that I was talking about before with these team comps. As the game goes on, Riddle definitely have like some decent scaling and a lot of damage with that center as well. But the thing that I'm really looking at is just like the range of the champions that you've got. Set melee, Rumble melee, Sion melee. Karma's not a huge range. And, it's going to take some time to get that range going up as well. It's basically when you're playing versus champions like Leona, champions like Lee Sin as well, it just makes it really easy to set up onto them because they're going to be walking quite close to you. MC getting caught out here. There's this flash.
Yeah, Aesthetic looking for the engagement. MC will be forced away. So aggressive stuff from Godsent to head into that blue side jungle and just put a lot of pressure on that Rumble early on. And Godsent, who haven't had the best of starts to the NLC so far, are looking to put pressure on Riddle, who also have been struggling a little bit, although I would say that Riddle managed to bounce back fairly recently. But nonetheless, it is a game that Godsent will want to try and win because they'll get that first win on the board, which they absolutely need. And now Slow Q looking to be slowed up here by the Zoe. Lots of damage coming through. There's the engaged first blood for Viego. And it doesn't matter if you are a tank, if you don't have any of those tanky items to back you up, you are still an easy target for the Zoe.
Had to respect that when he got slept there, needed to flash under the tower. Still early days, so I don't think Godsent would have gone for him under that. But to be honest, how depressing is it when you say, yo, mate, how did you die mid? Well, Zoe ghosted on top of me and killed me. That's it. A ghost engaged from Zoe. Just absolutely disgusting. I don't know whether she picked that up from the balloon or whether it was a spell book, but either way, like, that's just, yeah, gotta respect the shenanigans that Zoe can pull out in that early game. But a good roam right there from Godsent to have numbers in mid and punish Loki.
And it really comes from that bot lane pressure they were able to get. Had Prio down there that really freed up Svene to make that mid lane roam happen. Kex has to be careful here. I mean, Kubo is level 5. Has that ability to just jump in and look for the execute, but obviously you have to always be careful versus a Set. Can turn that around with the huge shield with the Haymaker, which he obviously had available, so that was why Kubo was not going to go any further with that. But yeah, like I said, that bot lane pressure allowed them to get into the blue side jungle, allowed Svene the freedom to roam mid. They now have to look to keep doing that, keep capitalizing, keep creating pressure on that bot side of the map that they can translate elsewhere, because Riddle right now are a little bit further behind than they maybe would want to be.
When you have that pressure in bot side and in mid, as established by that first blood, the obvious thing that opens up is the dragon. And you look at Godsent's lineup; they've got a pretty good dragon killing team. I would expect Viego to be focusing mostly on that farming, but I think at this point, like, you do want to try and get something on that dragon, especially when you're playing versus a Rumble, because once Rumble reaches level 6, dragon contest and dragon control becomes a lot harder because the red carpet, the equalizer, is so difficult to play against in the dragon area around that dragon pit. So before he hits level 6, get that dragon down, and I think Godsent are in a good position to do that. They might just look for a hit.
Yeah, I think right now Riddle just not in a strong spot with their team comp. Like as you said, we need those ultimates to be online for that team fight to really start to open up. A Rumble pre-level 6 is not exactly... Well, you don't pick Rumble for pre-level 6, realistically. That's the realistic end to it. And you can see it's very difficult if you're Gooby and PlayStation to actually get out of this lane right now, because you are just constantly being pushed in by the Tristana. You don't really have any real priority, and this is an easy first dragon in the game for Aesthetic. And you can see that Riddle not that bothered by it either. As you said, they know that they're not strong at this stage in the game, so they're not even going to try.
Now the question is, what does Aesthetic go for instead? He's looking around mid. Not going to be a gank going there, but he knows that top crab spawning, which is obviously very attractive for him, but also very attractive for MC. And definitely this is a fight, you know, before level 6, and maybe even, to be honest, probably even after level 6. I think Viego has the upper hand here. Not even going to try and contest that one for MC. Going to get this crab away for Aesthetic. Don't want to be giving over anything to the enemy jungle if you can help it. And look at that. There's the mid pressure. You got a bit of top pressure as well. Gonna invade into this topside jungle. MC having to run away.
Yeah, Kubu has pushed that wave in. As you said, it's almost impossible for MC to really have any edge in his topside jungle, and Aesthetic's just going to walk through and take away these Krugs. And really, that's one of the problems that Riddle have been facing. They have prio in none of their lanes, and that's made this early jungle very difficult for MC.
Almost got the recall cancelled there. Sorry, by the Krugs. That would have been a little bit sad. But we're going to get a lane swap here as well, actually. Now that, I mean, just look at the pressure that Aesthetic's putting onto MC here. I mean, there's not much they can do either, because they've got the bot lane as left bot. You know, Godsent, Svene's here. You've even got Yusta in top side. Like, it's just not easy right here to defend your jungle camps. So really putting that pressure down is very important.
Yeah, MC's still yet to get level 6 as well, so still isn't able to be a champion in these ganks at this point in time. Will have his blue side jungle spawning though, so we'll likely just be able to go clear that bot side and come back towards the top side of the map, where he may want to contest that Rift Herald. But again, it's difficult right now with no priority. You do have a bit more tanky stats in your favor though. You can see that the Scion has picked up the Barmy Cinder, and they are starting to build up some natural HP through levels too. So Riddle should soon get to a point where they can actually potentially look to fight some of these engagers.
So when MC walked mid there and killed that one caster minion, it got him from 5 to 6. That's really, really, really important here for this play. It's going to be a 4v4, but with that equalizer, with the red carpet, it's going to be a little bit hard for Godsent to navigate. See how this fight goes down.
And then they win it. That's a beautiful stun straight onto Svene, who's in the middle of the red carpet right now. As you said, getting burned down. They'll pick up the Rift Herald. It doesn't matter that they didn't get a kill. They got what they came for at the end of the day. What a lovely chain CC set that we saw there, and it forced Godsent out of that objective.
It's just the power rumble, isn't it? I mean, I absolutely agree that stun there by Gooby was really, really nice. But when you have that equalizer and you have the red carpet, it's so just... it's why he's such a good jungler. Gooby's going to go in here on PlayStation, not going to be able to get the follow-up. Nothing happening there. But as a jungler, you just... quite obviously are going to be hanging around objectives, right? You're going to be hanging around the dragon. You're going to be hanging around the Rift Herald. And if you're playing a jungler that just absolutely destroys objective fights because of something like Rumble ulti, then it just makes that champion just so good in that role. And to be honest, I think there was maybe a teeny weeny... Well, there was potential for Godsent to do something really 500 IQ. Gubu pushed him bot side really hard before this Herald spawned, and he ran up. And I thought he was going to join the Herald fight, and I thought that would be really smart, because, you know, Riddle would take that fight, because they would on paper win a 4v4, and then bam, it's 5v4, and, you know, Godsent come out on top. But Gooby just took the red buff and then went back bot, so it didn't work out for them, and that is going to be advantage over to Riddle.
Next dragon spawning will be the Mountain Drake, which is either going to get a Cloud Soul or an Ocean Soul this game. If it's Ocean, clearly going to have a lot of scrapping back and forth for that very heavy win condition that it provides for the team. Gooby now just picking up as many souls as he can. Obviously, PlayStation is still the one that is farming at this point in time, so Gooby just naturally getting the increased soul generation. He's currently sitting at 36 at 10 minutes, which I think is pretty good going.
Yeah, Gooby's going to be pretty happy with that one. I mentioned, like, you know, Gooby's pretty much their only range in this team comp, so he's going to definitely not want to fall behind on that stack generation. Going to want to hit those numbers as soon as he can, and he's not falling behind, so that is very nice for him and for Riddle. So we're going to see here a little bit of attention being thrown towards top to mid side of the map. MC here has the Herald. Oh, here comes the fight.
Yeah, onto Kex. Oh my, what on earth? Kex just slapped him in the head.
He's dead. Yeah, and look at that. I mean, this is it. Aesthetic's now gone topside to cover the tower, because Kubu died, and now it opens up the rest of the map. I don't think Godsent can even stay around, because this could be a dive.
I mean, it looks like it could be the case. That's going to be Rift Herald jumping through. Svenny looking for the engage. There's the red carpet coming down. The equalizer does a huge amount of damage. Will be the buster shot to force Rumble out. But Yusa and Svenny are on their last legs, and we have another minion wave crashing into the tower. They surely can't stay around here.
And Dragon has just spawned, so even though Riddle weren't able to take the first one, they will most likely... You know, actually, maybe this won't be so... Oh, okay. Yeah. Riddle might be able to get this Dragon now. In 1v2, PlayStation has killed Yusa. Good night, sweet prince.
Oh, no. I mean, PlayStation was getting the farm at the end of the day. He's got 84, actually ahead in CS over Yusa at this point in time. Slowq, this is where he becomes a bit harder to kill for both Aesthetic and 610. And you can see that that will be the first Dragon picked up for the side of Riddle. 1-1 apiece, and it will be the Cloud Soul that's on option for this game.
Riddle going to be very happy, honestly, with the way this early game's going. I have mentioned about the range and like being a potential like weakness for this team. I think that mostly manifests if Riddle fall behind, you know. But I think as far as it goes right now, Riddle in a good spot. And MMC's just not had a happy time this game. He's not really had much lane prio to work with. And that really sucks as a jungler, because if you don't have lane prio and then like the enemy jungler moves into your jungle, the enemy laners will come with them. And that just makes it so hard to defend. You know, miss out on farm and on gold. And it's just, it's a big tilter. It's really, really irritating. But MC able to keep his cool in this one. Rumble doesn't need a huge amount of items to really be effective. And he's definitely still been able to make it happen as he slides into this top side. Might be looking for something on Kubu, who is a little bit low on health.
Lots of plates have kind of gone the way of Riddle as well. Just opening up a small amount of gold. Kext not going to take the fight though, as Kubu's able to clear that wave out pretty nicely. So nothing crazy is going to happen around this first tower. But I mean, it's still waiting for that first tower of the game to go. And you can see that MC is hanging around on this top side of the map. Although with 3 plates still left up and standing without that Rift Herald, I don't envision that's something that's going to go down quickly for Riddle on this top side of the map.
It's a bit of a missed opportunity as well whenever you draft Tristana and you have got some lane prio. Like if you can move her around the map a little bit, it's really easy to take some cheeky plates. They did try it a tad when they moved to top side, but they weren't actually even able to get a plate. And as you can see, like Godsent have 1 plate this game, just 1. Plate's about to go down, and they're going to have 1 in their pocket. It's really not great, and there's definitely potential, you know, when you have Tristana on your team to be able to get more because of the chucking the bombs on the towers and whatnot. But unfortunately for them, not been able to make it happen so far.
All right, so let's take stock of where we are in the game. You can see the gold on your screens right now. Big leads for Kext on the top side of the map. That's 1,300 in favor of him. But everybody else, as you would expect, though, like Gooby a little far behind because he's obviously going for the fasting center, so he's not naturally getting the gold increase from these minions. And actually, if you compare PlayStation, he is ahead of Yusa right now in terms of that overall gold input. But the question I've got for you right now is given where we are in the stage of the game, given where Riddle are, they're building those tanky stats, that big front line against the Zoe is starting to work. Might come back to that in a moment, though, as 610 forced to flash away. Slowq will not find the knock-up with the charge. And here comes Kext, the ultimate. He slaps him into the middle of the team fight. Gooby's there as well. The equalizer ready to go too. And MC will pick up his first kill of the game. Mid lane tower now the target for the rest of Riddle. And that was a feels bad man for the Zoe, but I'm not going to say I was sad seeing a Zoe get absolutely slapped into the ground.
Feels bad man for him, not for us so much. Zoe, one of the most irritating champions to play against. I'm sorry, Zoe, but I definitely not going to feel bad when I see you visit the Shadow Realm. But good, that was a good run by Kext. Like honestly, like the ability to just have that strength in the top sides. He's winning top so hard. He pushes in that top wave, gets to move. And he did a really cheeky like combo here where he did the Stride Breaker Flash ulti, which is like the perfect move to get 610 out of safety and into the loving arms of the rest of his team. First turret going down on top side is going to have a little bit of attention. Guys, to be careful because Herald has spawned. Should be able to get away from this one though. In fact, I would put money on him being able to. Oh my goodness, they're going in.
Svenny, that was a big engage. He'll be able to walk away with it as another teleport comes through here from PlayStation, but that was a bold engage from Godsent, and Svenny not able to capitalize on it.
Whew. I mean, that was a lot. That was definitely a lot. Kext doesn't even have to use his flash, just walks away from that one. Godsent though are going to have tempo to pick up this Herald. that's going to work out for them. Look at this. Strybreaker, Flash, ulti. My goodness. Maybe a little bit overkill, to be perfectly honest, but still, there's not really a lot that you can do in that situation. And holy moly, you're seeing a little bit there, by the way, from Riddle's team comp of what you're going to, a taster of how these team fights are going to go down. Did you see the shielding from Riddle there? The Senna ulti, the Karma Mantra E. My goodness, that is just going to be absolutely disgusting as this game goes on. It's going to be so hard for Godsent to break through the side of Riddle.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like we talked about at the start of the game, and I kind of want to loop back to that. I was trying to allude to it earlier, but there's been so much action, we haven't really been able to discuss it. We're at this stage in the game, right, where there's a slight lead for Riddle. Not exactly huge, but it already starts to feel like that front line is becoming impenetrable. Is this a problem? Do Godsent ever get to a point in the game where they can get through that front line? Or is it just a losing battle from here on out and they need to look for another way to approach these team fights?
Anytime you have a Tristana on your team, she's a right-click champion. She has good range as the game goes on as well. She'll be able to go through the tanks, but it's definitely not going to be easy. And like Lee Sin, Viego, Zoe, not really tank killers. They're going to struggle, Like the thing is, if you've just got a huge Scion walking towards you and like a big set threatening you as well, you need someone to create space for Yusa to right-click. Fortunately for Tristana, like I mentioned, huge range, so that's nice. You don't need to create like a massive amount of space like you would for someone like a Vayne or something who is really low range. But still, like when you look at Godsent's lineup, I don't think Leone wants to walk up. Lee Sin won't really want to walk up either. Like Lee Sin's not even that tanky. It's definitely not going to be easy for these guys to enable Yusa in these late game fights.
And even then, Tristana, like, she's not exactly gonna. She's not like a Vayne, right? She's not gonna instantly shred these tanks. She's just like any normal AD carry with a bit of an attack speed steroid. She still has to rely on like the Lord Dominic's regard, realistically, to kind of penetrate through those big swaths of armor that both Kex and Slowq will eventually have. Plus, then the shielding from the Karma.
Yeah.
Like that's extra resistances. Shielding is obviously affected by any resistances that particular person that has the shield has in their kit. So, it's going to be even harder for Yusa, I think, to break that front line. And that's my worry this game. I think even if you are relying on Yusa to get through the Scion, I don't think you do it quick enough. I don't think you do it quick enough, and especially as PlayStation's starting to scale up a little bit. Gooby has obviously got a huge number of souls at this point. In fact, I'd love to get a look at how many souls Gooby's actually got.
I'm guessing like 63.
72, mate. 72. He's actually ahead of that curve. Yeah, he's doing good. Riddle looking really, really comfortable in this game. Just to expand on what you're saying with Yusa and Lord Dominic's and stuff like that, being able to push through these tanks, he's not going to get that armor pin item second, so we're going to have to wait even longer before he can actually look for that. And I wouldn't be surprised, like 3 or 4 items we're waiting for that Tristana to really make an impact in this game. We are going to get the Rift Herald chucked down mid lane. Aesthetic versus MC. Aesthetic definitely wins this one. Yeah, he does. That's going to be a shield coming through from MC, though. Just buys him enough time as Gooby picks up the kill. And look at this lad. He's just picking up souls left, right, and center. I think in the space just picked up another 7 over the course of about 30 seconds. Ramping up that damage, and now that mid lane turret should open up for Riddle. Even when Aesthetic finds that 1v1 versus MC, he does not yet have the damage to get the kill. And you can see Yusa's been given that time on the sidelines to try and scale up, but it looks like Riddle want to go for the fight. They don't have the equalizer, but on that front line, Slowq just isn't taking any damage, and you can see that comp in action. You can see how this Scion works so nicely into the Zoe pick. He literally laughed. Under tower, he laughed at the poke from Zoe, and his team manages to get another tier 2 in the mid lane.
So hard for Zoe to play this one. So tanky on the side of Riddle, and as if the innate tankiness wasn't enough. As you mentioned, the shields, they're huge. Rumble also has his own shield, Scion has his own shield. It's just like, oh my good sweet, yes. Okay, oh my goodness, right, it's happening. Riddle have no idea. They're not even checking it.
This is a big play. I mean, the teleport's coming through. They've just seen the teleport on the. Did they see the teleport animation on the Baron? I'm not sure. I mean, obviously you can see that's the ultimate coming through. It has revealed the area, and these now the desperation teleport's coming through. Sveni low gets taken out by that ultimate from Rumble, and MC now peels his way onto the Baron. They have 4,000 HP to go. And right now, all Godsent have done is actually leash the Baron for Riddle. Aesthetic now taken out, slapped outside of the fight, and goes down to the Haymaker as NLC is kicked out. Oh my word, Lee Sin, not even in the jungle role, and steals away the Baron from Riddle. But Riddle get the edge in this team fight. 2 members only remain with that Baron on top, but you will take it where you can get it if you're Godsent at this point.
Yo, how's that? What a play that was. I thought Godsent really just, oh my goodness, you know, like it was a cheeky play and then they got found out and I was like, uh-oh, here comes the Rumble Equalizer, here comes trouble. Oh my goodness, like I think Zoe smited it as well with the spellbook. I think that may have happened, but either way, it was looking really dire right here. Aesthetic's not able to get into the pit on the top side, but this kick from Kubu to get the jungler out of the pit, look at that. See, I did see a smite there, but I didn't see who actually smited it. But either way, able to pick it up for the standard Kubu. It's not great, but they'll still take it. That still works out in their favor. A huge bunch of gold going down to Godsent from that play.
And now it's only 3,000 separating Godsent and Riddle. It's not a huge amount of gold, like we said. I mean, the Kraken Slayer is there, so you are starting to shred through some of those tankier members on the side of Riddle. But Riddle now looking for the engage. There comes the Karma Shield, charging the Scion. Look how many people he's zoning away by himself, taking 0 damage in the process as he gets kicked back into his own team. And Kext is that secondary tank. Nothing they can do as the front line zones them away completely. And even the front line's just killing them. I mean, nothing that Godsent can even get in this team fight. It is a 4-for-0, a double kill for Kext on that set, and that is going to be a push down the mid for Riddle.
This might, I don't want to call game this early on, but this might generally just be it. You got a pretty fast tower take here. Not sure about the wave clear from Godsent. 610 is going to be in trouble as well. That's the root. Going to go down. This might, surely you can't end that. Their timers are not long enough to actually go for the end here. Surely.
I mean, they're looking for it. They're looking for it. First, the tower is open. They are going to put it down. That is going to be an equalizer to slow them. A slowing equalizer on the base fountain as now Riddle are desperately pushing through this second tower. The engage comes through from Godsent. They want to defend this, but their Nexus tower drops. How is this team fight still going? How has no one from Riddle died? These flame splitters are absolutely ridiculous as Gooby is on a killing spree. PlayStation as well, pumping out the damage, and that Nexus is open. How is no one dying from Riddle? They're still alive. The Nexus isn't, though, and Riddle will end up getting the win.
That was a very fast game compared to one we had last time, and I wasn't expecting that. It seemed to just turn like so quickly, but you saw the power of that Riddle composition. When you're that tanky and you get that far ahead, because there wasn't much damage coming through from Godsent, it was really just Yusa who was going to be able to challenge those tanks. He's not able to do it until like much later on into the game, once he gets 3, maybe even 4 items. No one dies, you know, just crazy amount of sustain, crazy amount of survivability, and goodness gracious, the immortal team comp coming there through from Riddle.
It just felt a bit of a draft defeat at that point. Like, as we said right at the start, like, how do you deal with a Scion, let alone a Scion and a set in your front line if you're playing Zoe and Tristana? I mean, it didn't feel like you were ever going to puncture through an unbreakable wall at the front of those engagers, and that's kind of the way it played out. Really, really big win there for I've just blanked. Who just won? Tell me who just won.
Riddle.
Riddle, thank you. Oh my God, I'm boomer brain. I've got boomer brain. But Riddle, because that is another win on the board for them. 2 wins when they were coming out of last week with 0. So this is a really good week for Riddle overall, and I'm sure they'll be happy to take that win. Godsent, unfortunately, yet to find their first. Anyway, we're going to cut to a break. I'm going to try and recollect my brain from wherever it's gone. But in the meantime, we'll have an interview and a breakdown with our analyst desk.